Before we jump into today's show, I've got a really exciting announcement to make. The autumn cohorts for Start Your Podcast group program are now open. There are 5 dates between September and October, and it's a 6-week program that will get you launched before Christmas. So if podcasting was on your to-do list this year, if you really want to get your podcast up and done by the end of 2023, then come and join me for one of those cohorts and let's make it happen. I have a free masterclass available for you called Understanding the Power of Podcasting. You can go over to donnaeade.com/masterclass, watch the masterclass and get access to that enrollment. I hope to see you in one of the autumn cohorts very soon. That's donnaeade.com/masterclass. Let's get back to the show. Welcome to the Society of Professional Wedding Vendors podcast. My name is Donna. I am your host, and today we have Baiju Solanki on the podcast. He is a performance psychologist, and today we're going to be talking all about attitudes towards change. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I have a fantastic guest with me today. His name is Baiju Solanki, and he is going to tell you a little bit about who he is and what he does. And then we're going to jump into a podcast that's all going to be about attitudes towards change. So, Baiju, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Well, thank you, first of all, Donna, for inviting me. I'm really honoured to come on your podcast and talk to your audience. Very brief background. I'm going to throw it back to you because you saw something in some of my posts to invite me on. So it'd be good to know what you saw that might be relevant for the audience.
Absolutely.
So I'm a performance psychologist. My background's in psychology. I used to teach psychology. I was a psychology lecturer for a number of years way back when. And then I worked in the city for a number of years, 9 years as a sales director before. In 2007, shows my age, where I left to start my own coaching and training business. And since then, I've been working with entrepreneurs, business owners to help them scale, make their businesses profitable. And I use sort of a model around understanding your game. I think business and life is a game. And I talk about games, which we're going to talk about in a moment during this podcast. So I'm going to throw it back to you. So what made you... You obviously, it's the first time we've spoken.
So, yeah, absolutely. So I actually got invited to a group on LinkedIn, and Baiju is in that group. And so I sort of came in towards the end of a week where he had done a series of posts all about attitudes towards change. And it sort of really resonated with me, especially at the moment and especially for my industry. So with weddings, definitely not taking place at the moment. And we have had a terrible year where it's kind of been, completely stopped, then really small, and for couples especially sort of deciding whether they're going to go ahead or not, some of them having to have postponed 2 or 3 times this year because when it first came in back in March, they were like, oh yeah, it'll only be a few months, we'll do it in the summer. And then summer came and it was like, well, you can, but you can only have 15 people. And it's just been devastating. And I saw this attitudes towards change, and I thought, you know what, that there are vendors out there that are putting a positive spin and keeping their pep in their step, as it were. And I just think it'd be really nice to sort of go into how we can sort of change our attitude a little bit, look at things in a little bit of a different light. And I thought you were the perfect person to come on and help us sort of guide us through that.
Thank you so much, Donna. Well, I'll be very honoured to talk about that series of posts on LinkedIn, which I'm sure if you put the link out to the group, they can see those series of posts. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is on that. So yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, attitude, people think, oh, yeah, it's good to have a great attitude. We all know that intellectually, right? There is not a person who's not listening to this who has some element of integrity, knows that attitude has a big impact, but stuff, life, emotion, whatever gets in the way, right? We get angry, we get emotional, we get sad, we get high, we get low. And it's easy to have a great attitude when things are going well. It's the easiest thing in the world. The sportsman who, when things are working out, it looks like a great player. But when things aren't working out, can he look like a great player? As a parent, it's great when your children are behaving themselves. You're the best parent in the world. I have all these techniques to be a great parent. Look at my children. But as soon as they misbehave, you're the worst parent. In business, when your customers are there, you're a great business person. And when you have things in control and you can, whether it's your supply, whether you're providing a service or a product and the market buys your thing, everything is great. Because the only problem, I haven't got time to send out the invoices. What a great problem to have, And now we're in a situation, I know we're talking about the wedding industry, but this is applicable because I work with all types of businesses, applicable in all industries at various levels. We're in a situation now where there are a number of things outside our control, which is having a direct impact on our business. And you could argue that before this pandemic hit, is yes, politics, whether you talk about Brexit or anything in politics, has an impact on business. However, there's usually a lag. If something happens in the world or politics, and there's a lag between it happening there and it affecting us on the ground in real time. So in that lag, we can prepare, we can adjust, we can pivot, and we might have cash flow that we can rely upon or adjust our business. But we're in a situation now where something can happen on a Monday outside our control, and on Tuesday we have to change. Yeah. And that's the biggest challenge for a lot of people. And I know we're talking within the wedding industry, which has been hit, like hospitality, wedding, anything event-based where it requires a crowd to be around, it's massively hit. And attitude has various different elements to it. And I know that I talked about in my series of posts. What are you seeing, Donna, that you feel that we could address around that?
I think for the wedding industry in particular, I've just seen it's that all consuming, especially when people have put so much into their business. And the thing around weddings is, and I know we're going to talk about it in a minute, which I want to sort of bring up, is this how to not be attached to the outcome, which I think is great. But weddings are so emotional and they're so emotion based, and people who work in the wedding industry are usually very emotional people and very much in it because of the love of doing it, and it's not just a job to them. So we do get very attached to our couples, very attached to how our customer service is affecting them, and through this it's just been obliterated, and it's so hard to sort of pick yourself up and continue. And I mean, I've only been with the industry in this capacity since April, so I kind of started in lockdown, and I have struggled, to try and keep that positive outlook, because I see myself as being, a point for the industry to come to. And if I can't stay positive, and if I can't put a spin on something, and if I can't turn something around for them and give them a different perspective, then how are they supposed to do it? And it's kind of that kind of situation that we're kind of finding ourselves in. And so one of the things that you spoke about in your posts was the idea of leaning in or leaning away. And I wondered if you could just expand on that for us and tell us what you meant by that.
On the surface level, in everyday life, leaning in, if you visualize, what does leaning in mean? It means you go into something. You're not pushed away. You're not running away from something. So the principle of leaning in the context of attitude is whether things are going well or not well, you lean in, right? The other aspect is leaning away then. Does that mean that's negative? No. In this context, leaning away is taking care of yourself. So pre-COVID, I would say leaning away is running away. You're not taking responsibility. You are flagging from, you're procrastinating. That's how I define lean away before. But what I'm thinking now is actually no one wants to really lean away. They're forced to lean away because of stuff. Things aren't working well, that you don't want to turn the news on in case they say no more weddings until end of 21. Oh my God. Yeah. You don't want to hear the bad news. So when you lean away, it's say, well, I'm leaning away to take care of myself, right? And whatever self-care looks like for you, whether that's exercise, meditation, whatever it looks like for you, reading a book, going for a walk, everywhere is the self-care without guilt.
Yeah.
You self-care without guilt. Now, leaning in is about, what is leaning into your business and whatever that looks like. So going on from that, when we talk about the controllables, is we can't control. We have no idea, especially in your industry. You don't know what's going to happen. And there's probably someone that could have a wedding today, but they don't want just two people there, the two witnesses and the couple. There's no point. It's a celebration. It's all the things that come with it. And you, as your vendors, your audience, are part of that experience. The photographer, the cake maker, the hotel, the organizer, and all, they're part of that love. And like you say, they don't do it for the money. They do it for the joy. And a lot of businesses do that as well. So when you lean in, you say, what can I control today? What can I do today? The thing about the business that you're in terms of wedding industries is it's going to pop. There's going to be a point where there's going to be some signal from the government, which means you're allowed more than 30 people at a place. You're allowed to have crowds and all the rest of it. When it pops, you're going to have couples ringing the phone, right? Because they are desperate to get their weddings done. They are desperate to celebrate whatever their nuptials and all the rest of it. And you guys have got to be ready. If you are ready when the government says, right, you can do it now, and you start getting ready now, it's too late. It's too late. Yeah. Right. You've got to think of yourself as a Grand Prix race, right? Is when the flag says go, you've already have got to spend 3 months preparing. Yeah. So you can have the attitude of thinking, oh my God, they don't understand the wedding industry. They're decimated my livelihood, blah, 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 blah. I have this saying, which is not mine. I'm not claiming it, but people say it within the personal development is, it's very simple, but it's very hard to, it is what it is. It can't be anything else. It literally can't be anything else. I want to have 4 more clients. I haven't got them. Well, it is what it is now, unless I do something about getting my 4 more clients. So lean in small segments. So don't get overwhelmed. As soon as you find yourself getting overwhelmed and you feel like it's getting too much, lean away to self-care, not lean away to run away. And the great thing about your organization is this, right? Is your organization is position yourself whereby you can say to your vendors, you're not alone. You might be a photographer. The photographer is going through the same thing that the cake maker is going through. To speak to each other. Sometimes when you speak, the problem is not halved, it's just understood. And when the problem is understood, all of a sudden, it's amazing how it can become more manageable. So leaning in and leaning away sort of takes on that concept. It's about lean in to be productive, lean away to take self-care.
And I think you brought up a really, really good point there, which actually echoes my post for today that I put out on social media, which was that, who wants to have an absolutely fantastic 2021? Start planning it now, because we have got, we're in this little lockdown at the moment and we can't do anything. So use this time to plan, because if you don't use this time to plan, and if you're not still showing up for your people on social media, they're not going to remember who you are. So plan now, use your social media wisely, be there when others aren't, and you're putting yourself ahead of the game already. So I think that's really good that you brought that up. Cool. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was this idea of NATO, because I've written some things down here that I wanted to talk about, but I wanted you to kind of explain what it is first, and then I'll give you my little bit on it after you kind of explained what it is.
So NATO is an acronym, as you mentioned. NATO is an acronym. The acronym is not the peace thing in the government. It's not attached to outcomes. So what I mean by that is we run businesses because we want to earn a living and we want to earn money, but also it's not just about the money, it's about giving a great service, but we want to be rewarded for it. So we want to have nice things. We want to earn money. And then when you're attached to the very thing that you want, and that has a hold on you, it can affect productivity. So I use the example of sports people, right? Do you have a favourite sport, Donna? I'm going to use an example that you like, if you like any.
Tennis.
Go on. Tennis, perfect. Tennis, right? Tennis is a great example, right? So if you take a Grand Slam match, usually, men's is 5 sets and the women is 3 sets, right? Now, when you go onto the tennis court, we know you have to win 6 games to get a set, or maybe 7 if it's a tie break, okay? And you have to win 3 of those to win the match, or 2 of those, depending, right? It's very simple. So the outcome, we know what we want the outcome to be. Either win 2 sets or 3 sets to win the match. We don't have to discuss that no more. So what the tennis player has to focus on is their game, right? I can't control what the other person, I have to respond to the other person, because if they serve to my backhand, I have to hit the backhand back. If they drop volley, then I have to come into the net, whatever it is, right? So I have to make my game the best game possible to ensure that I take control of the point and react accordingly. Okay? If I do that, the result will look after itself. All right? If on the day, on paper, I'm a better player than the other person, but on the day they play better than me, they might beat me. Fine. All I can do is influence the result. But do you remember a time, you might know this, there was a Polish women's champion who I think is very famous that she choked or something, or she was playing against Steffi Graf years ago. Can't remember her name. Right. Anyway, she was on the final and she was about to win, and she completely, what in sporting terms called choke.
Yeah.
You know, she lost, she just couldn't serve, her ball was going out and all the rest of it. Because she saw the end goal. She saw, oh my God, I can be Wimbledon champion. Mm-hmm. That attachment to the outcome impacted her performance. So what I talk to entrepreneurs about is, right, do everything you do to ensure you get what you want, but you do not attach yourself to outcome. Meaning, for example, I do a bit of sales training and sales coaching as well. And you do everything. You serve the client, you listen to the client, you provide them the proposal, you talk to them about proposal, you show them the features and benefits, you deal with their objections. But whether they say yes or no, you don't attach yourself to it. So if they say no, it doesn't mean that, oh my God, I must be rubbish, I've got to change it. You assess yourself. If they say yes, the same thing. So it's about understanding that the outcome is what you want, but don't be attached to it. Right? Think about marriages, right? You do with the wedding world, right? And unfortunately, I've divorced and in a great relationship now. You learn things. So when you get married, death do us part and all the rest of it. Yeah. But the intention is to love and honor each other. Mm-hmm. But stuff happens. Stuff happens, right? Life happens and all the other bits and pieces happen. Not discussing the right and wrongs. But you don't go into the marriage with the outcome is we just love and honor each other till death do us part or whatever it may be. But then stuff happens and you deal with it as it comes along. Yeah. And in business, we get too attached to the outcome. So I'm going to do A and B because I want C. C may or may not happen. I don't know. But if you're saying next time I execute on A will depend on how C went yesterday, then who's in control? All of a sudden you're allowing something that you're not in control to influence your performance. Now, this is not about not improving and learning and cajoling, but it's the subtle difference between not attaching the emotional energy around an outcome to how you perform. You take an Olympic athlete, for example, they're training for 4 years. Every day they get up, they do the training, eat the right foods, go to sleep, get up, eat training. Knowing that in 4 years' time, they're going to at the start line and say they come second. If they know they did everything during those 4 years, can they live with themselves? They can live with themselves. They just say, just one of those things. But if they say, well, if I don't win that gold medal, the 4 years was a waste. Is that really true?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So it's about, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, right, I've got a wedding business, I have no idea what's going to happen. It's right, there's certain things you can start doing now. Like you said, Donna, give advice to bride and grooms. Get your offering right. Listen to the market. React to the market. Respond. That when the government says pop, you're already way ahead of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Because what I've written down here, and I wrote it out when I was working on my notes for the show, and it was like, to me, to not attach the outcome was to be adding value to people, giving to people, but not necessarily expecting a sale. So within the wedding industry, I think there is a lot of feeling that need to get sales and to get brides booked in and to get couples booked in because, we haven't worked for a year, but coming out of desperation isn't going to do you any favors. It will come across desperate, but if you come from a place of service, which ultimately is what we want to do, is want to give them the best experience and for them to have the best day possible. If you come from that angle and you just keep serving and keep giving, then the sales will come. But one thing that I wanted to point out, and this was really good, and this was on the thread on LinkedIn, so I will link it in the show notes, and it was from our mutual friend, Mac. Do not bank on anyone going ahead in your time frame. And I thought that was so important for the wedding industry because at the moment, brides may not be booking. They may not be picking the phone up and booking because they don't know when they can have their wedding, but they're watching. And you have no idea how many people are watching your posts. And if you're putting out negativity, if you're sort of down in the dumps and things like that, they're going to pick up on that. But if you are giving value consistently, even through all of what we're going through right now, you are going to be the people they pick up the phone to when this is over.
You're so right, Donna. There's 2 points of things I want to say on that one in terms of no one buys anything so you grow your business. I'm not saying I'm going to get married today because I want to make sure that hotel gets a bit of business. I'm only going to get married. My mate's a photographer. He's down in the dumps. Oh, shall we get married? I know we can do it 2 years time, but let's do it now because he needs a bit of business. Yeah. Right? No one gets married to give business. And we know that intellectually, but then we get like a bit like, oh, they've been talking to me for 3 weeks about my wedding, and now they've turned around and said they've got another quote was more expensive. Oh, that's out of order. No, you can't have that sort of energy. The second part of it, in terms of time frames, I was talking about this morning, is there's so much uncertainty in the world now. Is people are looking for certainty. So this is the role of a wedding vendor until the government says go. The role of the wedding vendor is to give certainty to their market. So the photographer is got to talk about when the wedding occurs, how they're going to make sure they get the best pictures. The hotel industry, the cake maker is when the wedding goes, is how fantastic the cake's going to be and what they're doing about it. So sell certainty. They're not buying the cake. They're not buying the photographer. They're not buying the silver service. They're buying that you've got their back, and you're going to make sure their wedding is their best wedding. And all you got to do is say, I'm ready and we're ready. You don't have to do anything else. That's what they want.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's such a good point. I think it's so valid right now. So the last thing that I wanted us to go through, and we've touched on it throughout the episode, is the focus of what we can control versus the influence. So I know that in your post, I think it was the Thursday post, you actually put a list. Oh, yeah, so I'm good. I do my research. I think it was a Thursday. You did a list of the things that we can control. So I think it's quite important that the wedding industry hears that actually there's quite a lot that we can control at the moment. So could you go through that for us?
Absolutely. And it's not only applicable for the wedding industry, but for all industry. But like you think, number one I put is time. Now people think time. Can I control my time? It's been proven that there's 24 hours in the day. Just to let you know. Yeah. Well, actually, someone made that up because why didn't they create a 25-hour day? But anyway, that's the science question, right? It's also been proven that you can't literally save time. You can't put it in your pocket and say, right, I've got this 4 o'clock. I'm going to put this 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock hour in my pocket and use it later. Can't do it, right? What you can do, though, is ensure that you use the time to the best of your ability. Again, on the surface level, it sounds obvious. There's one word I never use or never will tolerate is busy. If someone says to me they're busy, I said, you're a mug. It's a mug's game being busy. Because busy says to me, you're not productive or you're not efficient. So rather be efficient and productive. So if I'm speaking to a wedding vendor now who thinks, well, actually, there's no one ringing me. Right. So ask yourself, 1 hour, what can I do now to offer the market some value? Another hour, what can I do to get my systems right? Another hour, let me ring a couple of vendors just to see, can we exchange some ideas, do a little bit of a brainstorming about how to do whatever it is. So make the time work for you. So you can control your time if you get your attitude right. The second thing, your energy. Energy is everything. When we're, and I don't mean like energy, being hyper. I mean balance. Yeah. And this goes back to self-care. If you don't feel balanced and you try and be productive, you're not going to produce your best work. So lean away, do some self-care, read, go for a walk, sleep, whatever it is, and then come back to it. The fact, we've got this time now because of lockdown and other bits and pieces that, again, I appreciate people's family situations might be different with young kids, is you can say, okay, I'm going to work at 9 o'clock in the evening once the kids are asleep. But make sure that hour's really productive. Don't beat yourself up about it. So the energy you can control. You can control your actions, but that's linked back to your energy and time.
Yeah.
Your choices. Do you choose to be a victim or do you choose to be a victor? Simple as that. Now, victim mindset, it's not fair. Victim mindset, why are they doing it to us? A victim mindset, it's okay for them, you don't understand my situation. A victim mindset is someone who feels that they've been picked on. Or you can say, do you know what? I'm in such a privileged position because I need to do what I need to do now to look after my life, my business, my family. but my clients are going to be gagging to want me to be their solution. I need to be in my best place then. And this is why I think your society is a great place, because wedding vendors, I'm assuming like any other industry, because you're sort of freelance, you do your thing, can be quite isolating in the best of times. They work in isolation, right? I would encourage all your members, say, right, let's use this forum, the society forum, to collaborate. Let's have joint Zoom calls. Let's get on there. Let's exchange ideas, even if it means about maybe having a 5-minute bitch, but then also being productive about it. Use this platform to organize events together before the industry is ready. So that your time, your energy, your actions, your choices, your thoughts. Now, when I was typing this out, I was thinking, hang on, if you're balanced and there's not a mental health issue, you can control your thoughts. But then there's an argument. There's people, depending on mental health situation, they can't control their thoughts. And I get that. But the principle I'm talking about is, if you know your thoughts are running away from you, lean away, self-care, do something about it, talk to someone, depending on the severity of it, whether it's professional help or just a friend. The last thing, which encompasses all your attitude, you can control your attitude. It's very easy. Look, I won't hide, people listen to this may not have heard me before, but if you Google me, you'll see a lot of stuff that I do. But I wasn't in a great place 2 or 3 weeks ago because I got angry with what was going on in the world. I don't allow that to happen, but I recognized that in me. I said, right, and I took some time out. I didn't feel guilty of I'm not as productive as I could be. I wasn't there for my clients. So I need to take some time out for myself, and I did. Not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
So your time, your energy, your actions, your choices, your thoughts, and your attitude are what you can control. If you control those to the best of your ability, that will influence the result. The result is something, as we talked about, that you're not going to be attached to.
Yeah.
That you're going to celebrate when it comes and learn from it when it doesn't.
And you're able to put yourself in the best possible place to get the best opportunity to get the result that you want if you are controlling all the things that you can control. And I think that is so, so important. It's so important.
It's self-awareness. Look, there's going to be, we're coming up to the winter months. It's really, Christmas, and depending on when someone's here, someone might be listening to this coming out to it.
Yeah.
And it's easy to have a great attitude when things are going well.
Yeah.
Right. When things aren't going well, everybody's got their go-to way of self. For me, I like to go for a walk. I like to meditate a little bit. I do exercise, and I like to speak to people. So they're my three or four go-to things. Yeah. So whatever your go-to thing is to some people might say, well, it was a glass of wine, which is fine. Right?
The occasional glass of wine is all good.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's being aware about it and saying, right, okay, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to lean away in self-care. What do I do? But it's also being responsible around it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is really good, because that kind of guides us back to a series that I did a few weeks ago, which was a mini self-care series where I had 4 fantastic people come on and talk about various elements of self-care and what you can do. So if you want to go back to those episodes and listen to them, I will link them in the show notes for you. I
think also for people listening to this, it's like saying uncertainty can breed a sense of anger, can breed the sort of victim mindset. It's completely understandable. So don't feel guilty for doing that. But it's recognizing that's occurring.
Yeah.
Right. And then saying, what can I control, and how can I create certainty around my life?
Yeah. And I wanted to give a shout out because, we're sort of saying that, we need to sort of be changing our attitude and looking at this, but there are a lot of wedding vendors out there who I just want to sort of hold my hands up and say congratulations, because I have seen the collaborations. I have seen the photo shoots that have taken place so that they've got new images to show people that have inspired, sparked conversations between vendors. Within the membership, we've had a collaboration as well, which is fantastic. There are vendors out there that are sort of focusing on that positive, and I just wanted to sort of highlight that for them, and then highlight sort of other things that it can do, because even the best intentioned person, the best person that is always positive, we all have down days, and we all, like you said that you had the other week, I had it at the beginning of last week myself. I just felt so down that I was like, how can I be a positive beacon for my audience when I feel like, I really wanted to scream and shout? And so I did. I pulled back, and I wasn't as active with the society and social media last week because I just wasn't feeling it, and I didn't want to influence other people with that kind of feeling. So this has been an absolutely brilliant episode. Thank you so much, Baiju, for coming on and sharing that with us. I am going to link you in the show notes so that you can get hold of this guy and connect with him, because he has some fantastic tips. If you are on LinkedIn, definitely go and connect with him there, because every day is a little mini lesson for you. So
okay, can I also, a lot of the stuff that I talk about comes from my book Change Your Game, and people can get a free copy, a free digital download of that. I've got this scorecard, and the scorecard measures how strong their game is, their game of business and life. And if you can put the link out to, it's called changeyourgamescorecard.com. If they complete the scorecard, at the end of the scorecard, there's a link that takes them to download the book for free. So a lot of the things I've talked about today, and many, many more things around how you can change your game, are in the book.
Brilliant. I shall definitely link that below. I think I've got a copy sitting in my inbox waiting for me to read as well. So
you need to read that then.
I do need to get onto it. But we've got a little bit of time now, guys. So yeah, do take some time. A little bit of self-development goes a long way in my book. Thank you so much for joining us, Baiju. I will link you in the show notes. Guys, come back next week. Thank you so much, everybody. Speak to you soon. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Don't forget to hit those stars and leave a review of the podcast where you listen if you found value in what you heard today. It's a free way you can help the podcast reach more people just like you.